A stranger in the snow. The wind howled outside like a wild animal. Snow kept falling without stopping. It was the coldest night Ethan had seen this year. His wooden chalet, deep in the mountains, was warm and quiet. A fire burned in the stone fireplace. The smell of coffee and pine wood filled the air. Ethan was alone as always. He liked the peace. No noise, no people, no problems. But then he heard something. Not the wind, not the trees. Something else. A soft sound, like crying. He stood up, confused. Maybe it was an animal, but it sounded too human. He grabbed his jacket and flashlight and opened the heavy front door. Cold air rushed in. Snowflakes hit his face. He stepped outside. Then he saw her. A figure lying in the snow near the trees. Small, thin, barefoot, not moving. Ethan ran toward the shape, boots crunching through the snow. As he got closer, his eyes widened. It was not a human woman. Her skin was pale silver, almost glowing. Her hair was long, tangled, and white as the snow. She wore thin clothes that looked torn and too light for winter. Her arms were wrapped around her knees, trying to stay warm. Her lips trembled. Her eyes, big and glowing purple, looked up at him. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Only a soft whimper. Ethan didn't know what she was. Alien, clearly. But what shocked him more was the tears frozen on her cheeks. Without thinking, he took off his coat and wrapped it around her. She flinched, but didn't run. She had no energy. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you." She looked at him with pure fear in her eyes, but also hope, just a little. Ethan lifted her carefully in his arms. She was light, too light, her body cold like ice. He rushed back to the chalet, kicking the door open with his boot. Inside, he placed her gently on the thick rug near the fire. He wrapped her in more blankets, then added more wood to the flames. She didn't speak, just stared. "Can you understand me?" he asked. She blinked slowly. Then she gave the smallest nod. Ethan poured a mug of warm water and helped her drink. Her hands shook badly. He noticed frostbite on her fingers. She had probably been in the snow for hours. "What's your name?" he asked gently. Her lips moved. "My-la," she whispered in broken voice. "Mila," Ethan repeated. He brought over soup from the stove. She sniffed it like a scared animal. Slowly, she took a spoonful, then another. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes softened. Ethan sat across from her, unsure what to say. What was she doing in the forest? Who left her there? He noticed something around her ankle. A broken chain, not just broken, torn apart. His stomach turned. She wasn't just lost. She had been thrown away. "Did someone hurt you?" he asked. Mila didn't answer. She looked at the fire and silent tears slid down her cheeks again. The room was quiet, except for the crackling fire. That night, Ethan let her sleep on the couch. He stayed nearby, watching over her. Outside, the snowstorm grew stronger. But inside, warmth filled the little chalet. Not just from the fire, but from something else. Something deeper. A strange feeling had begun in Ethan's chest. He didn't know who she was. But he knew one thing for sure. Someone had left her to die. And he couldn't let that happen. Not on his mountain. Not while he was still breathing. The fire and the fear Mila's eyes fluttered open to the sound of crackling fire. The warm light danced across the wooden walls of the chalet. She was lying on something soft, thick blankets wrapped around her like a nest. Her silver skin still ached from the cold, but now there was warmth touching her bones. She sat up slowly. Her body was weak but alive. Then she saw him, the human. He sat in a wooden chair by the fireplace, sipping something from a metal mug. His eyes weren't like the others she had seen before. No greed, no fear, no hate. Just quiet worry. When Ethan noticed she was awake. He gently set down his mug. "Morning," he said, voice soft. "You slept for almost 12 hours. Mila flinched and pulled the blanket tighter. Ethan raised his hands calmly. "It's okay. I won't come closer. Just wanted to make sure you were still with us." "Us?" She didn't know what to say. Her people didn't use words the way humans did. Back home, silence was safer. Speaking could bring punishment. Her glowing eyes shifted toward the fireplace. The flames danced with life, and yet they didn't burn her. This warmth felt strange. Strange, but good. "Are you hungry?" Ethan asked. Mila didn't answer, but her stomach did. A quiet growl. She lowered her head in shame. Ethan stood up, slowly, like trying not to scare a wild animal. He walked to the stove, poured hot soup into a bowl, and placed it gently on the floor near her. Then he stepped back. Mila looked at it, then at him. She waited. "No tricks," he said. "Just food." Carefully, with trembling hands, she picked up the spoon. She sipped. Warm, salty, real. She ate slowly, like each bite might disappear if she moved too fast. As she swallowed, her eyes became glassy. One tear slid down her cheek, then another. Ethan watched, but said nothing. He saw her try to hide the tears. "I don't know what happened to you," he said after a while, "but no one deserves to be left out in that storm." Mila looked at him again. Her lips parted slightly and her voice came out like a whisper broken by pain. "They said I was useless." Ethan frowned. "Who?" She didn't answer. Her hands clutched the blanket. "They left me, cold, because I was too weak to work. Not perfect." Ethan's fists tightened. "That's sick." Mila's eyes widened in fear. "Don't yell." "I'm not yelling," he said quickly. He took a deep breath. "I'm just angry, but not at you, at them." Her body shook lightly, and Ethan realized even kindness scared her. She didn't know how to accept it. He knelt beside the fire, keeping distance. "You're safe here. I don't care what they said, you matter." Mila stared at him, confused. That word, matter. No one had said that to her before. The fire popped and she jumped. Ethan stayed still. "It's just wood cracking. It won't hurt you." She relaxed a little. He tried to change the subject. "Where are you from?" Mila looked down. "Off-world. Trade ship. Owned. Then discarded." So it was true. She had been property. Traded like a tool, then thrown away. Ethan couldn't believe how calmly she said it, like she thought it was normal. He stood up and walked to a drawer. From inside, he took out a small cloth bag and returned. He placed it on the floor near her. Inside was a broken bracelet, black metal, scratched and glowing faintly. Her eyes locked on it instantly. She reached for it slowly, like it might disappear. "You dropped it outside," Ethan said. "I found it near where I picked you up." She held the bracelet close to her chest, her voice cracked. "That was my sister's." Ethan's face softened. "Where is she?" "Gone. Sold. Years ago." The pain in her eyes told him more than words ever could. Silence fell again. Later that evening, Ethan made her another bowl of soup and handed her a fresh pair of socks and a long sweater. She accepted them, still shy, still watching him like he might turn into something else. He didn't. As the sky outside turned dark and snowflakes floated past the window, Mila curled up near the fireplace. Her breathing was steady now. Ethan sat, nearby, carving wood with a pocket knife. He glanced over now and then. Every time he did, she was already looking at him, like she didn't believe this was real. Like she expected it to be a dream. But she didn't cry again that night. For the first time in years, she felt warm, not just in her body, but in her heart. Clues in the dark. Ethan couldn't sleep. The fire had burned low, casting long shadows on the walls of the chalet. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees. But it wasn't the wind keeping him awake. It was the questions. Who was chasing her? Why was she left in the snow, and most of all, were they coming back? He looked over at Mila, curled up on the couch. Her breathing was soft now, peaceful. The dark circles under her glowing eyes had faded a little, but her thin arms still clutched the blanket like a shield. He needed answers. Quietly, Ethan stood and pulled on his heavy coat. He grabbed a flashlight, a pair of gloves, and stepped out into the cold night. The snow had stopped falling, but it was knee-deep and untouched, except for the trail he had made yesterday when he carried her in. He followed that same trail, back to where he had first found her, just past the trees near the edge of a frozen slope. The flashlight's beam moved across the snow. There, drag marks, not from her walking, from someone pulling her. Ethan crouched and studied the marks. The snow was disturbed, like something, or someone, had been dumped there carelessly. Next to the drag lines, he spotted something shiny buried in ice. He brushed the snow aside and pulled it out. It was a small data tag, burnt, cracked, alien script still blinking faintly across its surface. He slipped it into his coat pocket. Then, he spotted more, tire tracks, not from any Earth vehicle, too wide, too deep, patterned, military, alien. His heart beat faster. They hadn't just left her there. They placed her there, like garbage or bait. Suddenly, the silence felt too loud. Ethan turned off his flashlight. He stood still in the darkness, listening. Something, cracked in the distance, far but not natural, not a tree. He backed away, boots sinking in snow, careful not to leave more obvious prints. He wasn't ready to confront anyone yet, not without knowing who or what was looking for her. By the time he reached his chalet again, Mila was awake. She sat up quickly when he entered, her eyes wide with fear. "Where? Did you go?" she whispered, voice hoarse. "I had to check. Something," Ethan said, locking the door behind him. She looked like she wanted to run. "They'll find me." "Who?" he asked gently. Mila pressed her lips together. "The handlers, from the trade fleet. They track all escapees. They don't care where we die, just that we're not seen by outsiders." Ethan pulled the burnt data tag from his coat and held it out. Her face went pale. "You had this on you," he said. "It's broken, but still active." Her hands trembled as she stared at it. "They know I'm alive," she whispered. "That's how they find us. They leave us to freeze, then come back to collect the body. They say it's clean disposal." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Like you're not even a person." She nodded slowly. "We're just product. Broken ones are removed." Ethan threw the tag into the fire. It sparked and hissed as it melted. "They won't track you with that anymore," he said. Mila looked at him like she didn't understand. "No one's ever done that for me," she said quietly. "Most people, they look the other way. I'm not most people." She smiled, just barely. But it was the first real smile he had seen on her face. Later, Ethan took out a small toolbox and began checking the cabin's generator and security locks. Mila watched from a distance. "Do you think they'll come?" she asked. "I think they already have," Ethan replied. "But next time I'll be ready." She lowered her head. "You don't have to protect me." Ethan stood and walked over. "You didn't ask for this life, Mila. No one should be hunted for being weak. You're not weak, you survived." She met his eyes. "You're not like the others." "Neither are you." That night, as the wind picked up again, Ethan stayed awake by the window, rifle near his chair. Outside, the trees stood like silent guards. Inside, Mila slept deeply, holding the old blanket close, unaware that someone, finally, was watching over her, the truth she hid. The next morning, the sky was a soft gray and snow covered the world like a quiet blanket. Inside the wooden chalet, Mila sat near the fireplace staring into the flames. Her hands rested in her lap, still and cold, even though the fire was warm. Ethan made breakfast, eggs, toast, and hot tea. He placed the plate on the table near her, but she didn't move. He didn't speak. Not yet. He knew something was coming. Something heavy. Something she had been carrying for too long. After a while, she finally spoke. "I had a name before Mila," she said softly. Ethan turned, his head slightly. "You chose it?" She nodded. "I was given a number on the trade ship. Mila was the name my sister whispered to me before they took her." Ethan sat down across from her, listening carefully. "We were born in a birthing colony, raised in metal rooms, taught to obey, not to feel. The first time I cried, they shocked me." He frowned. "They punished you for crying. They said crying was wasteful, weak, dangerous." She took a breath, hands tightening slightly. "My sister and I, we made a plan. When we were 15, we tried to run, but only I got away." Her voice broke. "They caught her. I heard her scream. I didn't go back." Ethan didn't speak. His heart ached for her, but he knew silence was the only respect he could give in that moment. Mila wiped a tear from her cheek with trembling fingers. "They took me to another world, made me work in factories, cleaned floors with my hands until they bled. I tried to escape twice. Each time, the punishment was worse." She looked up, meeting his eyes. "Do you know what they do to those who break too many times?" Ethan's jaw clenched, but he shook his head. "They leave you outside," she whispered. "In places like this, cold worlds, snow planets, no records, no witnesses, just left." Ethan felt sick, like a death sentence. Mila nodded. "They don't kill you themselves. That would mean paperwork. Instead, they wait for nature to do it." She paused, breathing carefully now. "But I didn't die." "No," Ethan said firmly. "You didn't. You found your way to my door." She smiled faintly. "I didn't mean to. I was just walking. My legs stopped and then I saw light." She looked at the fireplace. "You brought me in. No questions, no demands, just warmth." Ethan leaned forward. "Because you were freezing. Because you're a person. You didn't deserve what happened." "I didn't believe that until now," she whispered. He reached across the table and gently placed his hand over hers. She flinched but didn't. "Pull away. You're not broken, Mila, you're just hurt, and hurt things can heal." She blinked rapidly, her lips quivering. "Do you think," she started, "do you think I could be more than this? Not a tool, not a product, but a being?" Ethan smiled. "You already are, you always were. They just tried to make you forget it." Her breath shook. She looked away quickly, like the weight of those words was too much. But a part of her, deep inside, started to believe him. Later that day, Ethan showed her the small greenhouse behind the chalet. It was warm inside, powered by solar panels and heat coils. Plants grew in neat rows. Tomatoes, herbs, even strawberries. Her eyes widened with wonder. She touched the leaves gently, like they were sacred. "You grow all this?" she asked. "Yeah," Ethan said proudly. "Takes time, but it's worth it." Mila crouched down, smelling a small basil plant. She smiled for real this time, wide, surprised by her own happiness. "I've never seen green things growing before." Ethan chuckled. "Stick around. Spring here is beautiful." For a moment, Mila imagined what that would look like. Flowers blooming, birds calling, no alarms or orders. Maybe she could stay. As they returned to the house, a sudden noise stopped them both. A distant hum. In the sky. Faint, but growing louder. Ethan's smile faded. Mila's face went pale. "That's a scout engine," she whispered. He nodded. "They're looking for something." "No," she corrected him. "They're looking for me." They came for her. The hum grew louder with every passing second. Ethan stepped onto the wooden porch of the chalet and looked up at the sky. Between the clouds, he saw it. A small alien scout ship, silver and sharp, moving low and slow like a hawk searching for prey. Mila stood behind him, frozen. "They found me," she whispered, her voice cracking. Ethan turned to her. "They don't know where you are. Not yet. The signal from that tag is gone, but they're close." Her hands trembled. "They won't leave. They always search until they find what they lost." "They didn't lose you," Ethan said firmly. "They threw you away." Mila stepped back inside, pacing in fear. "If they see me alive, they'll call for a capture unit. Or worse, they'll erase both of us." Ethan walked in after her, locking the door and pulling down the heavy wooden blinds. "I won't let them take you." Mila stared at him. "Why would you fight for me? I'm no one." "You're not no one," he said. "Not anymore." She looked at him, eyes wide and full of emotion. But this time, not just fear. It was something deeper. Something new. Ethan grabbed his rifle from the corner and pulled open a floor hatch under the rug. Inside were old supplies, thermal cloaks, tools, wires, and traps. "I thought I'd left that life behind," he muttered. "But maybe it was just waiting for the right reason to return." "You were a soldier?" she asked softly. "Long ago. Before I came here to disappear." He tossed her a small bag. "Pack what you need, just in case." "But where would we go?" Mila asked. "We're not running, not yet. This is our ground now. If they want to fight, they'll get one." Outside, the ship hovered just above the forest edge. It let out a high-pitched screech, a signal. Ethan scanned the tree line through binoculars. "Drones," he muttered. "Two of them, scouting bots, fast but blind at night." He turned to Mila. "We can still hide, but if they find this place, we'll need to fight back." She looked scared but also strangely calm, like her spirit was waking up after years of being asleep. "I'll help," she said. He nodded once. "Then follow me." They moved through the chalet, sealing the windows and turning off the lights. The inside went dark except for the glowing fire and the soft orange of Mila's eyes. Ethan laid traps near the door, simple ones, but strong enough to hold machines for a few seconds. Just enough time to escape or strike. By nightfall, the ship vanished into the sky, but Ethan knew it wasn't gone. "They'll come back when it's dark," he said. "They always do," Mila whispered. Just after midnight, they heard it. A soft thump. Then another. Footsteps outside. Mechanical. Ethan peeked through a side slit in the wood. He saw them, two tall machines shaped like long-limbed spiders. Scanners blinked from their heads. Mila stood back, holding her breath. The machines crept closer. One stepped onto the porch. Ethan's trap snapped. A burst of electricity flashed, and the drone screamed in static, legs twitching wildly. The second one jumped backward, but too late. A net launched from the side wall, catching it mid-air. Mila gasped, eyes wide. "You caught them," she whispered. But Ethan wasn't smiling. He watched as the first drone, still sparking, released a red pulse into the sky. "They called for backup," he said. Suddenly a voice echoed outside. "Cold. Robotic. Unit 731A located. Retrieval protocol activated. Resistance will result in termination." Mila grabbed Ethan's arm. "That voice. It belongs to the command unit. The ones who trained me." Ethan looked at her. "Do you trust me?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes. Then run with me." He took her hand and together they slipped out the back door of the chalet. The wind hit them hard, and the snow was thick, but Ethan knew every inch of this mountain. They raced through the trees, leaving behind the smoke of the drone wreckage. Behind them, bright lights began to flash, but ahead of them, there was only the cold, the dark, and the chance for something new. One man, one mountain. Snow crushed beneath Ethan's boots as he led Mila through the frozen forest. His grip on her hand was firm but gentle. They moved fast between the trees, shadows stretching long in the moonlight. The alien searchlights swept the sky behind them, growing brighter. "They're close," Mila gasped. "Too close." Ethan nodded. Good. Let them follow. Mila looked confused, but Ethan's face showed calm focus. He wasn't running away. He was leading them. Ethan took a sharp turn near an old ridge. The trail sloped down into a deep valley, hidden from above. Tall pines surrounded them like guards. He stopped at a flat clearing near a rock wall. This is it, he said. Mila looked around. What is this place? My trap, Ethan replied. Years ago, when he first escaped the war and came to this mountain, he had built it. A hidden zone. A last stand. He opened a small camouflaged box behind a boulder and flipped a switch. Nearby stones clicked. Deep underground, something rumbled. Welcome to my little secret, he said. From the snow-covered ground, old Earth-Tech turrets slowly rose. Modified, quiet, but deadly. He had kept them buried for years, hoping he'd never need them again. Tonight, he did. You planned for this? Mila asked, amazed. I planned for peace, he replied. But I always knew trouble might come. He handed her a communication band. Put this on. If we get separated, I'll hear you. She slipped it on. And what about you? What if they come for you too? He gave a small smile. Let them try. Suddenly, distant engines roared. The sky lit up red. They're landing, Mila whispered. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Then we hold the line. Minutes later, the trees shook. 4 armored alien soldiers moved in a line, tall, insect-like beings in black combat suits. Behind them, 2 small scout drones hovered silently. The leader stopped, scanning the snow. Target was detected here, it hissed. Human scent also present. But something was off. Too quiet. Too easy. One drone floated forward. Click. A sharp, silent mine hidden in the snow launched a steel net upward. The drone sparked, screamed, and crashed. The aliens turned, but another trap exploded, releasing a blinding flash. Then a voice called out from the shadows. Looking for someone? Ethan stepped from behind a tree, rifle aimed. His coat blew in the wind. Snow fell lightly around him like ash before a firestorm. The aliens raised weapons, but before they could fire, the turrets from the ground lit up. Energy beams tore through the trees. One alien went down instantly. Another screamed, hit in the leg, crawling back. Ethan moved like a soldier again. Fast, focused, fearless. He fired short bursts, never wasting ammo. He knew this land, they didn't. Mila, hiding behind the ridge, listened to every shot. Her heart pounded, not with fear, but something else. Pride. She had never seen anyone fight for her. Never seen someone choose her safety over their own. A voice echoed in her earpiece. Stay low. Don't move until I say. She whispered back, I understand. Ethan ducked behind a fallen log. He was bleeding from the arm, but it didn't slow him. The last alien aimed a shoulder cannon at his position, but the turret got there. First, the enemy fell with a heavy thud. Silence returned to the mountain. Ethan breathed heavily, steam rising from his mouth. The smell of burned metal and snow filled the air. Then he called softly, Mila, it's over. She ran to him, kneeling beside him as he leaned back against a tree. You're hurt. I've been worse, he smiled weakly. She looked into his eyes. Why did you stay? Why didn't you leave me behind? Because, he whispered, I believe in second chances. Tears filled her eyes. Even for someone like me? Especially for someone like you. They sat in the snow, together, quiet. Above them, the red lights faded. The mountain had chosen its guardian, and Mila had found her reason to live. Warmth beyond the fire snow fell softly outside the chalet. The sky had cleared. No more red lights, no more drones, no more fear. Inside, the fire burned steady. Warm, bright, safe. Ethan lay on the couch, his arm wrapped in bandages. Mila had helped him clean the wound. It wasn't deep, but it had shaken her to see him hurt. He watched her now, moving gently around the small kitchen, making tea the way he showed her. She moved slower these days, cautiously, with care, but not like someone afraid. like someone finally free to breathe. When she brought the tea over, he took it with a tired smile. "You getting used to this place yet?" he asked. She sat on the floor beside the couch, wrapped in a wool blanket. Her silver skin reflected the firelight softly. "I used to think warmth was a trap," she said quietly, "something they gave you right before they took it away." Ethan nodded. "I get that. But now—" She paused, looking at the fire. "I think warmth is real. At least here." She looked up at him. "You made it real." He looked away. For a second, feeling something tight in his chest. "It wasn't just me. You walked out of that snow on your own. I just opened the door." She reached out, gently touching his hand. "You didn't just open a door, Ethan," she whispered. "You gave me a life." For a moment they sat in silence, comfortable silence, the kind that doesn't need words. Over the next few days, the snow began to melt. The mountain started to change. Trees shook off the cold. Birds returned. The small greenhouse bloomed with new life. So did Mila. She wore Ethan's old flannel shirt, too big on her frame but warm. She helped in the garden, learned how to make bread, and started writing her own name in English on scraps of paper. Each time, she wrote it bigger. One morning, Ethan found her outside, sitting on a rock, staring at the sky. He walked over and sat beside her. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "I want to stay," she said simply. "Not just hide. Stay." He looked at her, really looked at her. She was still the same fragile girl from the snow, but not broken anymore. He nodded. "Then this is your home. No more running." She smiled. Then something flickered in the sky. Distant, far off. A human shuttle. Ethan stood, watching it move like a silver line across the sky. "You think they'll come again?" she asked. "Maybe," he said. "But this time they'll find a wall. Not a helpless girl. And not a man living alone," she added. He chuckled. "No, not anymore." They went back inside together. That night, they sat close by the fire, side by side. No guards, no fear, just peace. She rested her head on his shoulder. "I never thought I'd feel this," she whispered. "What?" "Warm. Inside." He looked at her and gently placed a hand on hers. "That's what home feels like." Mila closed her eyes, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't waiting to be taken. She wasn't afraid of the night. She wasn't dreaming of escape. She had arrived, not just at a cabin in the snow, but at a place where someone truly cared. Her tears came again, but they weren't from pain. They were from finally being human,